Hi, it's Sasha. Today I'm going to be testing out products from ColourPop's new Blush Crush collection. First we have the Blush Crush palette. This is an eyeshadow palette with 9 different shades. It costs $14 and comes with 6 mattes, 2 metallics, and one they call a Super Shock, which is this extra glittery shade. These are the swatches. There are some great highly pigmented mattes and some beautiful icy shimmers. It's got a nice mix of light, medium, and deep tones, ranging from pale peaches to deep burgundies. Next we have the Your Catch Super Shock Highlighter. This retails around $12 and is a cool champagne shade with silver glitter. This is the Super Shock Highlighter. It's a light shade that's pretty close to my skin tone, and it's got a cool icy shimmer. Next we have the Sweetest Thing Lip Kit. This retails for around $14 and contains 2 of their Just a Tint lip colors. First we have Always Right, which is a sheer midtone pink. Next we have Feel Good, which is a sheer petal pink. Separately, each of these cost $8, but they were available in the set for $14. This is Always Right, and this is Feel Good. You can see how Always Right is more of a pink tone, while Feel Good has more red in it. Now I'm going to get started on the look. I've already applied some base makeup, and I'll list everything in the description below. First I'm going to use the ColourPop Brow Boss in Taupe. I'm just going to use this spoolie end to sort of brush my brows into place. And then I just brush them through with this pencil to kind of fill them in anywhere where it seems patchy. I've really been enjoying using this pencil lately because it's like the perfect color to match my brows. I just like to brush it through one more time just to soften everything up. Moving on to the eyes. So first I'm going to use this shade Love Sick. I'm going to just lay that down all over to kind of cover up any veins or redness on my eyelid. Next I'm going to take this sort of peach shade called The One. I'm going to use it as a transition shade. I'm just going to put this in the crease and kind of work it in. There's definitely a bit of pigment to the shade. It kind of has a bit of like an apricot tone to it. I think it's going to be really pretty. Next I'm going to use this beautiful mauve matte shade called Cheek to Cheek. I just want to lay down sort of a base color on this outer half of the lid. I love how pigmented these shades from ColourPop are. I feel like they always blend really well together, especially the matte shades, and you just get so much color. I like how this is looking so far, but I want to deepen up the crease a bit. I'm going to use this shade here called How Rouge. I'm going to wet my brush using the Pacifica Cherry Matte Setting Spray. So I just spray the brush, dip it into the powder, and then pack that on the eyelid. So I'm using it sort of in the outer corner here. I'm going for kind of a softer edge. I don't want it to be too harsh at this point. I just want to use this brush to blend it out a bit and soften the edges. I want the crease to be a little bit deeper, so I'm going to try some of this shade here called Blush Wine. I'm also going to spray this with a setting spray. Dip that into the powder, and then pack that right on the corner there. I'm going for a bit of an angle here so it has a bit of a cat eye feel. Now I just want to blend that all out again. I'm focusing on working it inwards. It's not quite blending out the way I want, so I'm going to use a little more of this cheek to cheek to sort of soften the edges. Now I want to add a shimmering highlight on the center of my eyelid. I'm going to use the shade Blossom Up. I want to apply it wet, so I put some setting spray on my hand, dip my finger in it, then dip that in the powder, and then I just pat that on my eyelid directly where I want it. This shade is so beautiful. It's sort of like a peachy pink and it has this kind of champagne gold shimmer. I really love shades like this. I just feel like it makes everything pop in such a gorgeous way. I'm going to work a little more of Love Struck in the inner corner here. Now I'm going to try just a little bit of the shade Enamored on the inner corner of my eye. Once more, I'm going to spray setting spray on my hand. I'm going to dip a clean finger into it, dip that into the powder, and then press it on my eye. This is so pretty together. This one is almost more of a cool pink, and the one in the middle has a bit of warmth to it. I just really like how it kind of goes from cool to warm there. I feel like it really makes the inner eye pop. Now I'm going to create a similar look on the lower lash line. So to start, I'm going to use this small smudge brush in the shade Cheek to Cheek. This is sort of that beautiful mauve tone. I'm kind of taking this to meet the outer corner of the eye and then about halfway across. I don't want to go all the way across so I can do the same sort of inner corner highlight that we did up above. I want to add just a hint of that sort of darker color, so I'm going to use a little bit of How Rouge. Just going to press that in there because I want it to be sort of a concentrated color, but not too much. Next I'm going to put some setting spray on my brush. First I'm going to dip that into Blossom Up, and then I'll just pat that in near the center of my eye. Next I'm using the wet brush in this shade Enamored. This is just going to give that really beautiful inner corner highlight. I did flip my brush over before I went into these shinier glitter shades. I try not to use the dark shade before a light one, otherwise your colors end up looking kind of muddy and dark. So I'm going to move straight onto the mascara. Today I have the ColourPop BFF Volumizing Mascara in Brownie Points. This is a really beautiful kind of deep brown shade. Since this mascara is brand new, it's kind of clumpy on the brush, so I'm just going to use a little trick here and wipe a little bit off on a tissue. I've never used this mascara before. This brush is really pretty interesting. It's kind of like an hourglass shape. It feels like it's doing a nice job sort of lengthening the lashes. It wasn't really something I expected because it's called a volumizing mascara. This is a really pretty color. It's a nice dark brown, but I feel like it sort of has that glamorous look. It doesn't look too soft or too natural. One thing that's cool about this mascara is that it comes in a lot of different colors. It's not just like black and brown. They also have crazy ones like blue and stuff. Now I'm just going to go in on the lower lashes a little bit. Sometimes I like to take the brush vertically like this to get those lower lashes. I feel like it gives you just a little bit more control. I think this looks really pretty. It didn't really curl my lashes a lot, but it definitely seemed to sort of lengthen and volumize them. I feel like my lashes are really well defined with this mascara. I love that it's really affordable too. For blush today, I'm using the Pixie by Petra Fresh Face Blush in Whisper Pink. So this is kind of a rosy mauve pink shade. I feel like you could also do a peach shade as well. This is just kind of a nice soft pink. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's not like too bright or shimmery. For bronzer today, I'm going to use the Fenty Sunstalker in the shade Into Sun. Just going to use it on that same blush brush and sort of buff it in. I really like the shade of this bronzer. Someone at Sephora actually helped me find it when I said I was having trouble finding them in the right shade. I feel like as someone who's super pale, sometimes it's just really hard to find a good bronzer shade. This one is nice because it's just a little bit more towards the cool spectrum. And with this look, since it was more pink, I really wanted something that would be a little more cool. I also like to put a little bit down the neck just to sort of tie it all together. Now we're finally at the highlighter. This is the next item in the Blush Crush collection. It is called Your Catch. This is a really beautiful sort of champagne shade that's got a bit of a silver to it. This one is actually their Super Shock formula, so it's actually kind of a cream that kind of turns into a powder. So it's a really interesting formula because you can just sort of apply it with your fingers. You don't have to use a brush. It has this really nice sort of silky feel to it. If you apply it with your fingers, you can definitely see it more than if you like applied it with a brush. This highlighter has a nice kind of sheen to it, but it's also got a bit of glitter in it as well. I'm just going to apply a little bit under the brow bone, on the tip of the nose, Cupid's bow. So there are two different lip shades in this today. There's one called Always Right, which is sort of the lighter sheer mid-tone pink. And then there's this one called Feel Good, which is a sheer petal pink as they describe it. I think either of these would go well with this look, so let's try both. I'm starting with Always Right because it's sort of the lighter of the two. This formula is really nice. It has kind of a berry scent to it. I love how it's more like a lip balm. It feels very creamy and moisturizing, but this crayon shape really helps you draw it on in a nice, precise way. Okay, so this is Always Right. I think that's really pretty. It's a nice sort of soft nude pink. I think this would be a great kind of everyday look, and you could definitely wear this color. I want to try the other lip shade though, so I'm going to wipe this one off really quickly. Now I'm going to try Feel Good, which is a slightly darker shade. Okay, I think this one is really pretty too. It's called Feel Good. It's supposed to be more of a petal pink. I think it definitely shows up a bit more and has a little bit more vibrancy to it. Right now I'm wearing Feel Good and it's more of kind of like a reddish or berry tone, whereas the one I was wearing a couple minutes ago called Always Right, this one is more of a pink nude shade. I think both of these are really fun, kind of everyday shades. It just sort of depends on what you're feeling that day. If you've been enjoying this video, please give it a like or consider subscribing. I post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 10 a.m. Central, and I'd love to see you there. Please also hit the bell to be notified first whenever I post a video. So just as a quick review, this was a really fun eyeshadow palette to use. I feel like it's very versatile and you can get a lot of different looks out of it. I love that it has some more kind of warmer apricot peach shades, and then it also has some very beautiful kind of deeper berry shades as well. I like how you could do a look almost entirely with mattes in this, and I feel like it's a really versatile kind of everyday palette. This Super Shock highlighter was really interesting for me. I've never actually used one in a pan this big before. I'm not quite sure why it's this large. It might just be because it looks really cool. The pan itself is really beautifully packaged. It has these gorgeous sort of flowers on it. And then on the inside, it still has the cover on it, but this is a mirrored compact. I don't know if this is a highlighter I'm going to use every day. It's got a little bit more chunky glitter than I typically wear, but it did have a nice sheen to it, and I really do like the cool kind of icy tone. I've really been enjoying this Just a Tint formula from ColourPop. I love how they're only $8 a piece or $14 in a set. In this set in particular, I feel like I'm going to get use out of both of these because they're both really nice pink shades. Just a Tint comes in a lot of other colors as well. I highly recommend it because it's a really good value for the price. So some people have been complaining about this palette because they feel like it's really similar to other recent ColourPop palettes. I have some of their other palettes with me and I wanted to compare them so I can show you what each one does that's different. So this is ColourPop's Give It To Me Straight palette. As far as all the ColourPop palettes go, I feel like this one is most similar. It does have 3 more shades than the Blush Crush palette and retails for $4 more, but you can see that it does kind of lean into some similar tones, including the neutral sort of taupe shade and some beautiful kind of mauves with some kind of shimmery peachy pinks as well. However, I feel like the darker tones in Give It To Me Straight are more kind of the brownish burgundy, while Blush Crush definitely has more of sort of that purpley mauve. Another recent mauve tone palette by ColourPop is called Flutter By. Flutter By is also a 12-pan palette, and so it costs $4 more than Blush Crush. It might be a little bit hard to see with this kind of gilded background on the Flutter By, but there are some pretty similar colors in here as well. You have kind of those peach mauve tones in the mattes, but I feel like Flutter By leans a lot more into sort of the purple shades and especially some of the deeper tones. Flutter By definitely has some really chunky glitter shades like this one here called Overpacked, whereas Blush Crush has more shimmers. Next I have the Milani Gilded Nude palette. This one came out recently and I have a review video that I'll link below. This is a 15-pan eyeshadow palette that retails around $20. If you compare it to Blush Crush, you can see there are definitely some similar shades. There's a lot in the sort of peachy mauve range, but this Milani Gilded Nude palette leans more into the sort of burgundy brownish tones, whereas Blush Crush is more in the mauve and purple. Last but not least, I want to compare it to the Huda New Nude. This one I feel like is one of the most popular kind of mauve palettes, and a lot of people have this one. The Huda New Nude palette is $65 and has 18 pans, so it's quite a bit more expensive than Blush Crush. It also has a lot more of these sort of pressed glitter shades, whereas the Blush Crush I feel like has very similar tones and a lot more wearable kind of everyday shimmers and mattes. If you're looking for something very colorful where it will definitely read as bright pink or purple, I think Huda New Nude is great for that, whereas the Blush Crush I think is a nice kind of everyday softer look. So I hope this helps you determine if this palette is a good value for you. At $12 and only 9 shades, I feel like it's pretty affordable and easy to use. I love how there are a lot of matte shades and some really nice shimmers as well. But I would encourage you to look in your makeup collection and see if you already have something in this same range, because chances are you'll already be able to create a look like this. I hope you found this video helpful. I'd love to hear if you have any other favorite palettes by ColourPop or other brands. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.